Welcome to the show. I'm James.
I'm David.
I'm Riley.
And today we are discussing the 2004 independent film, Primer. We'll laugh, we'll argue, we might get too confused, but at the end of the day, they're just movies.
Spoiler alert.
I should have said I'm one of the Rileys.
Oh.
Blah, blah, blah.
I'm the one covered in mold.
There's another one going to show up to this table halfway through the episode.
I'm the Riley covered in fungus.
Next week, we actually haven't decided right this moment as we record what we're going to do, but you just need to look in the description for what we're doing next week.
Down
Yeah,
below.
sorry.
You tell me, because I don't know.
We're figuring it out.
All right, David, give me your rating out of 10 for this Primer movie.
Yeah, I'm going to give you my fun one
This
first.
$7,000
I'll give you the real
movie.
You
one.
have multiple slogans?
Film is supposed to be a medium, not tedium.
Ah!
There's a reason the montage was created. That's
true.
my joke one. Here's the real one. The point of sci-fi isn't just science itself, but to explore the infinite, wild, thematic, and ethical questions that technology can pose. Primer instead spends all its runtime having two insipid nunnicks drone incessantly about frivolous details.
Like this podcast.
But at least it's done with the enthusiasm of a freshman boring people at a college party with the surface knowledge they gained reading 3 Wikipedia articles.
He was an engineer for a while.
This movie is cool. I'm super glad it exists, and I feel bad a little bit like a bully punching down at a $7,000
Yeah,
movie.
you're bullying these people.
But there's a lot of problems with this movie, and I think that they spent all their skill points on a cool gimmick.
Yeah.
That was really cool in 2004, but is so much less interesting in a technology.
You just want a
age.
multiverse.
I think I want.
He just wants the mold.
What?
You guys don't know about that.
Yeah, I just don't want two people staring at each other, talking, explaining technical jargon that means literally nothing, and then
It means something apparently, but yeah, I point taken.
It's all theory. It's all theory,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
it's like, if it was real, then someone would have done something about it.
I mean, in terms of this is more of a hit pick for later, but
Let's go.
a lot of their jargon was he like studied physics so that he could like actually sort of be talking
for sure.
sense.
Most writers do study the thing they're writing about.
Anyways, what are you rating it?
I'll give it a 4 out of 10.
4 out of 10.
I was gonna
you
give
didn't
it a 5.
enjoy.
This is like Doolittle level.
No, Doolittle was like a 2.
Yeah.
Too
I
little.
found myself constantly fighting the urge to like get up and leave.
Yeah.
Like subconsciously, I just kind of kept getting up and being like, I need to go get food in the kitchen. No, I should sit down and watch.
Did you have subtitles on?
Yes.
Yeah, you got it, huh? Riley!
So I saw this movie back in university at some point. I guess it was 2007 or something. And this was my first rewatch since then. And my experience was kind of about the same, I'd say.
As David's or as the first time?
No, as the first time. I was fascinated. Here's my slogan. It makes sense that one of the coolest conceptual hard sci-fi movies of all time is barely even a movie. So like I'm trying to, give credence
Sure.
to what you're saying there.
Credence,
It
water
it has
revival.
many, many weaknesses as like a movie. But as you said, I love that they made it, and it's like a puzzle. It's less of a movie and more of a puzzle. It's
I
like
think that's fair.
Yeah. I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10, just because I did really enjoy watching it, and a lot of people did, and they made all these like plot diagrams and like explanations of how the time travel works. There's like whole websites that are just dedicated to this movie. It's super interesting.
It's very cool.
Primer punches way above its budget, but ultimately is too incomprehensible to give audiences a satisfying emotional ride. Put this one back in the box one more time. 7 out of 10.
Try another loop.
Yeah, I like it. It's very cool. I too had to watch a 20-minute YouTube video explaining what the movie was about.
Yes.
Which in my opinion is a failure. Like, because I've seen, what's his name, Steve Carruthers?
Who? Shane Carruth?
Yeah, Shane Carruth.
He's the-
Who's Steve Carruthers? That's another guy.
He's the writer, director, actor,
Editor.
composer, editor.
Foley artist.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did basically everything.
Pretty sure
great
this
at
movie was
most
like
of those.
catered by his parents.
Was all acted by his friends.
Yeah.
Except for Abe.
Abe's pretty good.
Or
But
Aaron. Whatever.
the thing is, I would argue that its indiness is well, I heard him speak, and he said, I like a movie where when you watch it the first time, you get like the core of the story, but it takes rewatches to like really get the layers. And I say, cool, yeah, we all do, except this is not what this is. This is, you watch it the first time, and you're like, in the last half hour, what the hell happened? And it's just too incomprehensible. And I find myself arguing that it actually needs to be more commercial and mainstream for it to be I think, a better movie. That's a discussion I want to have today, guys.
I'm super excited. There's a lot of things I would change about this movie, but there's nothing I would change about this segue to our sponsor.
Secret Lab chairs! They're designed to keep you comfortable for those long nights of work and play. Long days, though? Find another chair. Just joking. Their Titan Evo 2022 series chair offers 4-way lumbar support. It comes with magnetic memory foam head pillow, and it's offered in different upholsteries like hybrid leatherette, soft weave fabric, and Napa leather. The only leather that is guaranteed to work for 40 years in the box. You know, with fungus on it. Best of all, a 5-year extended warranty is included, along with a 49-day return policy. Not 50. If you want that extra day, put it back in the box.
Back in the box.
Put it back in the box. Bring it out this morning at 8:30 a.m. Learn more about Secret Lab at lmg.gg/secretlabtjm. That's it. It's the only sponsor.
I was just laughing that whole time because I feel like, David, you've spent so much time filming with Linus, you've just completely learned how to do the segue perfectly.
He's seen
I
a lot of
anticipate
segues.
them.
Amazing. Okay.
Well, what happened in
Look,
this movie?
this synopsis is a doozy, all right? Necessarily.
Ugh.
Just it will probably clear things up. I know that you're really confused, James. You had trouble following along.
All right. No, I'm cleared up now. I just the
are you?
top YouTube result with the English woman narrating.
Yeah.
Very good.
I watched that one like 3
I
times.
didn't watch it. I should have.
Told through a mixture of narration and flashbacks, Primer is the story of engineers Aaron and Abe who work on side projects in Aaron's garage. One such project is a machine that electromagnetically reduces an object's weight, which turns out to have a temporal side effect. Objects in the machine loop between time A, when the field is activated, and time B, when it's powered off, such that objects can leave the field in the present or some previous point.
Come on. This is your description of it?
Now we're in... What do you mean?
It sends you back in time. The amount of time that you like put on the dial.
Well, that's how the machine works.
Okay, but that's just
It's
superfluous.
important because of the multiple timelines.
Well, I mean, it's
Alright.
important to this movie because it's the whole fucking point.
I know,
on a-
but it's such a technical description of it. Let's go.
That's how it works.
Thank you.
On a Monday, sometime after this discovery, Abe meets Aaron sitting on a bench. He's wearing an earbud to listen to March Madness. Abe reveals to Aaron that he built a larger version of the machine, aka the box, in a storage unit. By activating the box, waiting 6 hours in a hotel room to avoid interacting with the outside world, and then entering the box to wait another 6 hours, Abe time traveled back to the point at which it was activated. Outside the storage facility, Abe and Aaron watched the earlier version of Abe enter the box. Over the next few days, Abe and Aaron repeat this process, making profitable same-day stock trades and discussing implications of the technology. But the friendship between cautious Abe and impulsive Aaron begins to deteriorate, as do their bodies, forced to endure 36-hour days thanks to the extra box time. On Friday, the two men realize they're being followed by Thomas Granger, so it's been a week, father of Abe's girlfriend Rachel and investor in the original weight loss project. They confront him, but he falls into a comatose state from apparently being in the box for who knows how long. It's revealed that Abe built a failsafe box in a second storage unit, which has been running just before Box 1 was activated. Wanting to reset everything, Abe enters the failsafe box, traveling all the way back to Monday morning. This Abe 2 now, sedates his previous self, Abe 1, meaning there are now permanently 2 Abes in this timeline. Abe 2 meets Aaron at the bench as before, but turns out this is a future Aaron listening to recordings of all the week's conversations through his earbud. Time for another big reveal. At some point, Aaron found out about Abe's failsafe. He used it to travel back to Monday, bringing a folded up box with him, then replaced Abe's failsafe with his own, ensuring he could travel back further than Abe. This Aaron 2, drugged Aaron 1 and hid him in the attic, then took his place and recorded the week's conversations. Aaron 2 then traveled back to Monday again, becoming Aaron 3. Aaron 3 fights Aaron 2, but he's too weak. So instead, Aaron 3 convinces Aaron 2 to leave. So now we have Aaron 1 in the attic. Aaron 2 leaves. Aaron 3 is the active Aaron. Aaron 3 is who Abe 2 meets at the bench the second time. Abe is shocked by this revelation, but the two men tentatively reconcile and jointly travel back in time to reshape an event where Rachel is nearly killed by a gun-wielding ex.
Stupid.
After many repetitions, Aaron stops the gunman, but ultimately their friendship irreparably damaged. Aaron 3 leaves town while Abe 2 stays to stop their doubles from building more time machines. On the other side of the world, Aaron 2, the one who left and who has been narrating the story via a phone call, presumably to Aaron 1 or Abe 1, ends the call by saying, "You will not be contacted by me again. If you look, you will not find me." Aaron 2 hangs up and is shown beginning construction on a warehouse full of time machines.
Oh, I thought he was making a big one.
I thought that was one super.
What the hell is he gonna do with that, anyways? I'm going back in time with my car now.
So it's not.
What is he
Dude,
doing?
this is the prequel to Tenet. That room is the one that you can flip time in. Yeah.
It's not clear whether
Inverter.
it's like a big giant warehouse-sized time machine or a bunch of little ones, but I feel like they say every meter do something. So I'm like, it would actually make a lot more sense for him to make.
We're going back to 1999.
Well, you can only go back.
We're gonna go have a party at the ball drops.
That's the thing. You can only go back to when you turn the box on. So it'd make a lot more sense for him to make a ton of smaller time machines.
So you can have lots of avenues.
Yeah, so that like you have more options to come back to the same time, or
What?
if you make one big box, you can only use it once.
You can only go as far back as the time you activate it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? So if they make one in spring of 2004, that's as far back as anyone can time travel.
As long as they turned it on.
Yeah, but he can only time travel back to then once.
Oh, right, because you're saying you have to turn that on. Yeah, it has to be running. And then once you go back to it.
This is something that I was still kind of like wrapping my head around, the fact that, okay, you have the original box. Once someone uses that box, then you can never use it again, right?
All you can do is you traveled back, and you're like, oh, cool, I'm back to spring of 2004, and I immediately turn it on again.
But
so now I can't go back as far, but I can go back to like seconds after.
Well, no, it's like you can't use that box because someone is in it now in the time stream. You have to set up a different box and activate that one, which is why
I don't think that's true.
You can live your life.
They've been using
That's
the same
what they
box.
keep doing, right? Like they set it for 8:30 a.m. They go live their life until at 3 o'clock p.m. They get back in it.
But they do it on subsequent days. They never travel back
At the same
to.
time.
They only travel back to Monday by using fail-safes. So I think there are 3 fail-safes at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Cool.
So every time they travel back, they have to bring a box with them and set it up and activate it.
Cool. Let's talk about the strength of the movie, which I think is
David's like,
is its plot. I think its plot is really cool and
that's
intricate.
the strength of the movie?
I think like the plot,
Sorry.
not the implications or the emotion behind the plot, but like how it all is revealed and unveiled, and like those layers of time travel.
Oh, I don't like it.
Oh, you don't like it?
I like what they're trying to do. I think the way they execute on the plot is not well done.
Well, yeah.
I think the strength of the movie that everybody could agree on, because I would say one of the strengths is like I like the jargon and how realistic it is and how they come to like figure out what the machine is at the beginning, but you don't like that. So
well, I think that they put too much effort into trying to keep it grounded, that they lost some of the experience of time travel. I feel like the movie really didn't deliver that experience of like what it would be like to be so discombobulated. And it kind of gets there by the end, but it feels
if we,
like just messy.
If we can't agree on that, I think the thing that everybody can agree on is that the like central conceit, the device, like the story engine of this is how the time travel works in this movie. That's cool.
Yes.
The way that it loops, and it's like, okay, now there's 2 of you and you're following the other guy. As long as he gets in the box and you don't bump into him, you're good.
Obviously,
That's cool because it's complex enough that you're like, you're following it. You got to pause the movie and talk to your friend about, wait a second. So this, okay, we got it. It's just like right on the brink of stimulating and comprehensible.
And even before, I feel like I love that they take a little bit of time in the beginning to actually fully explain it, because even just the core mechanic of like looping back is interesting, because it brings up so many questions about timelines. Is this a branching timeline? Is this just one timeline that's being rewritten? Is it like, is determinism a thing? Is like, there's so many like implications of it, and they barely touch on all of the implications in the movie, but I like that they kind of give you the time to sort of like ingest the actual model and like digest it and be like, okay.
I think, to me, the strength of the movie is like there's a ton of ingredients for something interesting, and if you are willing to put in the work, like you said, to pull apart this puzzle box, there's a lot of cool stuff you can work with. And I think that's really neat, but I think like as an experience, as a journey, it's kind of just bad.
Yeah, well, this is why I think, and I like, I obviously hate to say it. I hate to say like, this should just be more Hollywoodized to like a really cool independent film. But I kind of think that's true. Like, I mean, as a piece of art, it's great. But I think about I compare it to Inception. Inception is about as complex as like a blockbuster can be, and there's still like boomers who are gonna watch it and be like, I don't know what happened.
Sure.
Yeah.
And there's still gonna be explainer videos and stuff. But I think it was that movie like rides the line of like, here's what's happening.
Right.
It's kind of out there, but you can follow it, and we can. It's comprehensible enough for us to deliver these big emotional beats. Bwah! And your like mind is actually blown. Whereas in this movie, when they reveal the big, like you say, the big reveals.
Yeah.
They're not big reveals. They're like, it's new information. And you're just like, so something like that's happening now.
Right.
Something about this. I guess that there's another one of him, I guess. I don't really get it.
Primer really needed a couple.
They needed to deliver the information in a way that you can get it so that you can emotionally feel the impact of the new information.
I agree, because I think that that's a big failure of the movie is the lack of control over what the movie's communicating. It's communicating something cool, but it like the shots don't tell the story. The style, the editing doesn't really tell the story. And so the story's kind of there for you to like pull apart.
Perfect example of this in microcosm is the event, the party with a shotgun.
Yeah.
Because that becomes a central thing that they're worried about. They put in a lot of effort to travel back and make that work out. But that's a thing that gets talked about. It's an off-screen thing they mention like 20 or 30 minutes in, and then we don't really see shots of it until like 45 minutes in. Whereas if this was like a Hollywood movie, it would have opened at the party.
Yeah.
Right? And you would have been like emotionally invested in this party, and you would have seen this traumatic event and go, oh my God, we need to change this. It's important that we change this.
Okay, yeah, I agree. But I think the biggest weakness of the movie is the fact that the party is even in there at all, because it's still not clear at the end why they came back so many different times to stop.
Yeah.
To change the party. It's the most like it's funny because the plot is like so convoluted, and you actually have to go online and find explanations of it to fully understand what's going on. But the party remains the most confusing part of this movie to me, because I'm like, what? I still don't understand what the things about it.
In the regular timeline, the life that they lived, the guy showed up with a gun and nothing happened. But he's worried that there could be other timelines or that party could go down other ways, and he just didn't want that to ever happen. He wants to make sure the guy goes to jail, he never comes back and does something crazy another time.
Yeah,
he just wants to really close the loop on that.
That's what that's the explanation that sort of made the most sense, is the fact that like, okay, the first time around no one died and nothing super bad happened other than like the threatening with the gun, but this guy's dangerous, so we need to like take him out, get him out of the public or whatever. So then he wants to go back and like get him arrested or something, but that's not made clear. And the thing that's most confusing about it to me is the fact that Aaron really wants to do this, but it's Abe's girlfriend Rachel who's being threatened by her
It's not even
ex.
his girlfriend, it's his love interest.
I thought it was his girlfriend.
I think it's his girlfriend.
Okay.
Anyways,
but whatever.
Yeah.
I spent the whole movie being like, who is Rachel? How do they know Rachel?
Yeah, that's the other thing, is that like there are some key players in the movie that aren't really introduced, or
She has
like,
no lines.
Like we see Thomas Granger for like 2 seconds and then he walks off
I was
screen,
like, who?
and then we see his unconscious body like for another 2 seconds later, and that's it.
We never see him in anything but a wide. We
Yeah.
never see his, like, I don't know what
Yeah.
his face looks like.
And I think I guess we see Rachel sitting at the table, but like I don't recognize her.
And compare all that again to Inception, where you've got the character of Maul, right? Who plays her? Cotillard.
Marion.
And the stakes are so much.
Darth Maul?
The stakes are so
Mal,
much.
isn't it Mal? Mal?
doesn't matter.
Mal?
Is it-
His
whatever.
wife.
The stakes are so much higher because like what she kills herself and their 2 kids.
Yeah.
Right? That's what he's trying to stop
Right.
from happening. Versus a guy brandished a weapon at a party, this chick I like, and I was like,
she
that was
didn't-
not cool.
She didn't kill his kids. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah, you're right. They're not dead. But
I was like, geez, that sounds darker. That seems darker
that's
than
like
what-
Minority Report or something.
Oh,
But
okay.
anyways, the stakes are higher and she's a real character, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Well, and it's an interesting kind of dynamic. It sucks. I love having movies with actors I don't recognize, but I think that's a downside to this, where there's someone who's shown in one frame and then they're kind of brought back. And I was like, is it that generic white guy or is it the other generic white guy
Yeah.
who's bad at acting?
The guy
Like,
with glasses.
Yeah.
And-
There
but
is
why
a
do you
brown
think-
guy in it.
Yeah, the least lines. I mean, the thing is, with a movie like this, it's basically whoever you get, like of the 5 people, you know, who's the best actor, that they're going to be in the role, right? So why do you think, though, that they didn't have higher stakes? Like, instead of him just brandishing a weapon and nothing really happening, why didn't he show up at the party and shoot somebody? Is that a budget thing, or?
Who didn't show
I
up?
think it might be because it'd be hard to like coordinate a whole like shooting sequence with blood and stuff.
The
like
X?
that kind of special
Yeah.
effects was
Well,
was
I think-
expensive.
Why not up the stakes?
Okay, so for some reason, this is another thing that's super confusing about the party. Abe doesn't hear about the party the first time around until their buddies Casey and Robert and Philip, who are their like side project people that they cut out. He doesn't hear about the party until Wednesday. The party happens Monday night, and Abe doesn't hear about it until Wednesday. And they were like, "Yeah, there's a party the other day, and your girlfriend was there, and her ex showed up with a gun, and Aaron stopped him." And Abe hasn't heard about any of this until Wednesday.
They don't have cell phones yet, man.
No.
They do
No,
have
they do
cell
have cell
phones, but
phones,
they
yeah.
don't have texting, I guess, maybe. I don't know.
What the hell?
So-
Also, nitpick. Party's on Monday.
Nitpick.
Yeah,
the
what
hell?
kind of fucking party is that?
yeah.
Stupid. Why didn't this movie start on Saturday?
I'm so interested in who Shane Carruth is. But maybe that's for later.
Yeah.
Let's keep talking about the movie.
Let's talk about some good stuff, you know?
Sure. I mean,
I think the beginning of this movie is pretty strong. I think the first half hour is pretty strong.
yeah.
I like the setup that they have, like when they're just these 4 electrical engineers in the garage trying to make it work, and they're arguing over like which project they're allowed to do, and they're like, "Hey, man, when we set this up, you said that we'd each have a turn, like trying to make our thing work. Now we let you have your turn. Now it's our turn. You got to, stick
Yeah.
with us on this." I like this whole like drama they set up.
I agree.
Nothing really ends up happening with their friends.
No, they kind of just exist in the background.
They're just there basically to illustrate the fact that they're kind of hypocritical in that they're so mad at this other guy. It's implied that Platt, this guy that they talk about punching in the face,
You screwed them over, yeah.
he screwed them over by taking their idea and cutting them out, and they end up doing the same thing to those two guys.
Because I feel like that's the main thematic pull of the movie is like how this kind of power, when you're not, you have the scientific answers, but you don't have the moral answers. What happens to you? And I
Yes.
think that's kind of like the emotional pull of the movie.
Yeah, and I think at some point Shane, I saw a quote of his where he was saying, the movie I wanted to explore what would happen when these like engineer guys who have thought about these like theoretical questions and this like practical questions their entire life, but they haven't really thought ever about moral questions. Once they're faced with ethical conundrums, what do? They just completely fall apart because they haven't thought about it at all.
And they're
in
like the
their
most
lives.
boring people in the world. They're like, ask his wife, like, what would you do? And she just says like, I don't know, or something. It's
That
like,
was so.
it's a good thing you're in the movie. This
That was so weird.
Her lines, man, I was like, and this was written by a dude.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
she has nothing to say.
Okay, so I should say now about Shane, I guess.
But hold on though.
No, okay, never mind.
You can tell me right after this.
All right.
And then it's like, what would you do? And then the biggest thing he can imagine is like punching a guy in the face.
I know, right?
On the flat of his nose. I'm like, this movie has no swearing. He wants to punch someone in the face. That's his like crazy fantasy. And they're wearing suits the whole time. Is this like, are they like Mormon or something? Is this like a Mormon movie?
I think it's more like Office Space vibes. I mean, like 2004, I feel like they have day jobs at an engineering firm, which I guess in 2004 maybe was that more like you wore suits.
I think they're wearing suits just so that when you're watching multiple timelines of them, it's a reason for them to look the same, and you don't know which character you're watching.
Yeah, it's
'Cause they wear the
iconic.
same thing every day.
right.
It's not,
That's
it's not like, oh, well, that's jean jacket,
Yeah.
Aaron, so I know that's the
and
first
they're
version.
they're both wearing white shirts with different ties. So then you're like, oh, that's red tie, that's blue tie, or whatever.
Now you tell me about.
Okay, I guess I will. I'll
Steve
just jump to it.
Carruth.
Why not? Why wait? Shane Carruth. So he only made this movie, and then he made Upstream Color, which was also very. I mean, this one won an award at Sundance for something. It was like the grand jury prize or something. And then Upstream Color was also critically acclaimed. And those are the only real 2 movies that he made.
I thought he made something Orchid, some kind of.
He's been a consultant on
Flower
a couple
thing.
movies.
Yeah, I think. But as a director, he was a composer for the Girlfriend Experience.
Hell yeah.
Oh wow!
Director, Breakthrough made a documentary. But yeah, these are his only 2 narrative features. And turns out that he was physically and sexually abusive to his fiance,
boy.
who was the star of Upstream Color, and also is a writer director herself. So
Cool.
anyways, it makes
Very
sense
cool.
that it makes sense that, and he he was canceled in
The small
2020?
circles.
In 2020, he posted a photo that was like she had revealed that his fiance had filed a restraining order against him.
Okay.
Anyways,
Get back in the box.
He was a
reset the
brilliant
timeline.
guy. Clearly, he made 2 very highly acclaimed films, and he wrote another couple screenplays that people were like really, really excited about, and they were released online, and people were like, "Whoa, these are good." But I guess he's kind of a piece of shit, or he deals with some mental issues, and all that to say, it makes sense that the dialogue for the sole female character with dialogue in this movie sucks.
Yeah.
I think most of the dialogue kind of sucks. I think like if it's not technical jargon or explaining kind of the mechanics of it, it's not good. Like people don't speak the way normal people speak. They kind of just say what's on their mind, you know. And
see, I don't know, because I feel like I really got the feeling, as you were saying, James, in the first half hour or whatever, I felt like this was a real fly on the wall experience,
like down to earth,
where I believed that they knew what they were talking about. Like when there's this shot, and it's like a long shot. It's like a 2 or 3 minute shot where they're just all like pointing at a whiteboard or something and talking about, well, if we put this here, then we'll have to up the bandwidth or blah, blah, blah. And they're just like going on and on and on with jargon. And I'm like, I wrote, if these guys are just actors, then they spent a shit ton of time learning jargon so they could just talk shop.
Yeah.
And I was like, this feels really believable. I feel like I'm just watching engineers try and figure something out, which I appreciated, because like there is a space for that kind of like, you know, I don't know what to call it, but
I can definitely see what
stuff.
you guys are saying. I think if I was feeling more charitable as I watched it, I could have, I think, engaged with that part of it.
I was also very enhanced.
That's fair. I think for me,
I needed it. I was tired, and I was like, if I'm gonna like get into this,
you're like, I'm gonna get it the first time, baby. Let's go.
I think for me, I was just finding myself pulled out by a lot of the shot selection. There's these slider shots, and they never stop fucking using this slider, but they frame it behind people so that it'll be a frame, and it's like 60% of the frame is someone's fucking back.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you not know how to fucking make a movie? And it's like, yeah, they don't.
I liked when the first time they used the slider, it was like it was expensive or something, and they waited for this moment. It was like when they're like about to turn it on or something like that, and I was like, ooh, cool. This just upped the ante.
Well, that's the way you're supposed to use it. Like, ideally, you're using camera moves to help communicate the feeling, like help direct the audience's emotion or thoughts towards a specific moment. But this movie, it constantly does the like corporate shooter first video of like constant slide to side trucking. And it's just like there's no story reason. It's just like they're at the table and they're trucking behind, but for half the frame, it's behind someone's back, and then every fucking line is ADR. And so it's like, it's so hard for my technical brain to turn off and accept like the cool stuff about it. Cause I'm just like, come on.
Yeah. It seemed like
get better audio.
It also seemed like some shots were like slowed down a little bit. Like it's in like very, very slight slow motion with ADR. And I'm like, I wonder if that was on purpose or whether they were like, oh, whoops, we shot in the wrong frame rate, and so now we have to do ADR. I don't know.
It's tough, and I don't want to be too mean because like it's $7,000 movie and they shot it on real film. Like they apparently they had 80 minutes of usable footage, and the movie is 78 fucking minutes long. And so like it's an incredible achievement what they've done.
Yeah,
and like. If I can take a step back, I'm sure there's a part of me that's feeling a little jealous that this guy was able to accomplish that. So I'm sure that's like coloring my criticism. But at the same time, I'm criticizing a movie, and these terrible shot selections are a factor.
For those who don't know, ADR is basically when they record some voiceover outside of what you're seeing on the screen.
Additional dialogue recording.
And normally in a professional movie studio, you would do it in a quiet room, and you would use the same mic at about the same distance as it would have been on the shot. But in this one, they're using a different mic, and it's really close, so the P's and the S's really pop. So it sounds like the mic is like right in their fucking face, and it's really fucking distracting.
Okay, Mr. F-bomb.
I will say that those kind of like trucking around shots while they're like just spitting out jargon, it kind of gave me like a mix of like Ocean's 11 and Office Space. And then with like some Inception thrown in later, where it's like the sci-fi element. I feel like it was interesting seeing this kind of like, obviously I don't know if all those movies came out at this time. I forget, but it was interesting kind of seeing all of these elements kind of mashed together into something and I like all of those movies.
Well, and I think a big part of the experience too, in any movie, is if you have trust for the filmmakers, and if you're giving them the benefit of the doubt as to why a decision you don't fully agree with was made. Like, if Denis Villeneuve had a shot where there was like a dolly that was behind people's backs, I would be making mental justifications, being like, oh, he's trying to give us like the outside perspective. We're not on the inside. We're like observing these people doing this.
Yeah, you're a charitable like benefit of the doubt view where like I'm in his hands and whatever he decides to show me is intentional.
Whereas this, I'm like, oh, the director's in the frame because he couldn't find an actor. And so he's like, his buddy that's holding the camera kind of is just like, oh, like, okay, the background frame's nice, but there was no one really in the frame when they framed it and they're just kind of shooting it, you know.
There's one or two times where I'm like, they did a lot with a little here. Or they did something clever. And one of the times is when the machine's just been turned on and I think again, it's like another dolly shot. And they move the camera, and he's approaching the machine. And he's gonna like drop confetti on it or something like that.
Sick.
But then instead of seeing it directly, we see it through a camcorder.
I agree.
And it's like that was great because it just made it easier for them to do the special effect that they wanted to do.
Yeah.
It kind of it keeps the audience. It gives a little veil of mystery. We don't really know what's going on. That was really clever.
I agree.
Yeah.
There's some really clever shots, like even when like there's a shot outside the garage with the garage door closing and stuff. Like there is good shots where I can tell like they took a little bit of time and thought about it, but you can tell this movie was just shot by the seat of their pants. So.
I want to address this now because I feel like the approach that I'm taking to this movie is like the direct inverse of the approach I took to Starship Troopers. Which a lot of people, we'll talk about that maybe on fan service, but
I've never seen anybody as many bad comments and then you comment back as often as this.
I spent some time in the comments, but so for that movie, I was like, this is a big budget, mass marketed movie. Paul Verhoeven, the filmmakers in general, have a responsibility when your audience is going to be that big and you have that much budget to do your best to make the film accessible to people and make it, you know, like smooth out these things that could cause confusion or misinterpretation at the end of it, right? For this movie, it's got a $7,000 budget. One guy did almost all of it. So it's like, I'm going to forgive a lot of these things, right? And the fact that this one guy was able to write this script, get people together, and actually execute and finish it, you know, I'm forgiving a ton of stuff. And so like,
as you should,
you know, there were even some like of those dolly shots where the camera was like shaking and stuff. And I'm like, you know what? That's fine. I'm not going to like detract points for that. Like obviously I'm not going to give it like
in the
10.
low light shots look bad, like they're so grainy and stuff,
yeah,
but
super grainy.
whatever, they're working with what they had.
Yeah, and
which
so,
is less than my phone right now.
Right. So like my you know, I was talking about like responsibility and like, you know, skill on the other one, and then this one I'm like, I'm gonna reduce that a whole lot.
I think that's fair.
Because it's different. This is meant to go on this festival circuit. This is meant for a limited audience. This is not like, I think he made this movie knowing that it's not going to be Star Wars.
Well, and I think
you know?
it's a brilliant use of scope and it's in restraint in the sense that like there's nothing in this movie where you're like, wow, they really fucked it up. Like there's no special effect where you're like, that's embarrassing. It's really smart to have it be a box and just the hum and then they go back and like there's no, he was really smart in the scope, I think.
Yeah.
I have a question. When they're talking a lot of jargon at the beginning, explaining how it works, and it sounds like he really wanted it to seem realistic, and even if you have subtitles on and you see what they're writing, it's like, yeah, okay, this all checks out. At the same time, he does the technique where there's two conversations happening at once a lot. Mm-hmm. Like you're trying to listen to this jargon, and then someone else is having a side conversation with that same person, being like, well, what do you want to eat? Should I order it now? Pizza, are you sure? And so it's really discombobulating.
Yeah.
And so is that meant to make us not focus on what he's saying so that we don't look too closely at the explanation?
I got the feeling that it was just trying to be realistic. Because like, that's kind of how those conversations go. And I think, like you guys praised it, it feels very grounded in the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, he's either trying to make it seem like realistic or he's trying to make it purposely confusing so you don't look too closely at it. But either way, it's like, it's cool at first, but after a while, it's like, hey, I understand that you know how to do that. That's one tool in the toolbox. He's getting a little worn out.
He just loves it.
He gives like he tries a little bit to grapple with the ramifications and the implications of this. They have that conversation where they're sitting at the gas station and they're talking about like determinism and like if everything plays out the same way and if there's anything you can actually do to change history. But that's also an interesting thing because they change history themselves multiple times.
Yes.
Did you guys get the feeling when you were watching this that it was like one timeline, or is it like branching timelines in the same way that like, I don't know, Back to the Future?
Well, if it was
Marvel's?
branching, then wouldn't they never see each other? The fact that they see their double, that means it's not branching, doesn't it?
Well, okay, so I went a couple different ways on this because I was like, it sort of has to be branching if there's an original timeline and then the Abe from that timeline comes back and now has started a new timeline that is different from the other timeline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we see that there's evidence of that, right? Because he goes later on to invite his friend to the party, and he has those canned, like, recorded things in his ear, and so he's sticking to that script, but his friend is clearly having a different conversation, and the answers that he's giving based on the recording don't match up with the conversation they're having.
Yeah.
Because, like, in the original conversation, it's like the guy's going like, yeah, I guess I'll come, and then his reply from the recording is like, great, man, see you there. But then they show the scene again, and instead of saying, yeah, I guess I'll come, the guy's like, no, I think I got plans. Great, I'll see you there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Man, there are like the whole basketball scene where he like invites the ex-boyfriend. This party is this is the biggest weakness of this stupid movie is the party. Because like what? Aaron goes to invite the ex-boyfriend to the party for some reason, but I guess he did that.
No, he doesn't invite the ex-boyfriend. He invites somebody else.
Oh, he invites his friend and tells him
the friend who ultimately brings him or something like that.
right, which is another layer of remove
Like he
remove
just
that we
tell
don't
him not
need.
to come. Why just tell the guy not to come so he doesn't bring the weird guy.
wants the guy to come so he can get him arrested.
Okay.
Yeah,
guess.
but like
guess.
so it's
Just go and kill him.
it's implied that
Yeah, you got time travel.
It's
If you
implied
don't
that-
get away with it, just try again.
it's implied that Aaron initiated and caused this whole confrontation at the party. Right? Because if he hadn't talked to that guy, then the ex-boyfriend wouldn't come.
I'm sure in someone's spreadsheet somewhere it's very clear.
In all of the explanations that I found, I mean, people were less concerned about the party and why it was there and like why Aaron was going to save it instead. Like the thing that made the most sense, well, not even the most sense, but the closest I got to someone actually explaining it was saying that, okay, this is Aaron 3 at the point when he actually stops the gunman finally after repeating it a million times. That's Aaron 3, and so he knows that there are 2 other Aarons in this timeline permanently, and so he's like, I got nothing to lose. I'm just gonna go out of my way to like be a hero for some reason. And I was like, okay, I guess that sort of makes sense, but it still makes no sense as to why Aaron would start this confrontation arc and then work so hard to have an outcome.
I feel like that's what kind of leads us to, in my opinion, one of the biggest strengths of the movie is how flat every character is. Like
Biggest weaknesses?
one of the biggest.
Oh, you said
weaknesses-
strengths.
I couldn't tell you anything about any of the characters. Like there's cautious Abe. and
the thing is,
bold Aaron.
Aaron also seems kind of conservative at the beginning
That's-
too.
yeah.
His character, it's not like most movies. They show you, they characterize people pretty strongly in one direction. So you're like, okay, you know what their role is in the story. But Aaron, they kind of show him as he's conservative. He doesn't want to take on some of the projects that the other guys want to do. He wants to do something practical that's going to work.
Yeah, the characterization is really weird.
And I wouldn't be able to describe a single thing about anyone else in this movie.
Well, they're not important. The only
But you
important
need to
characters-
have people that have personalities so that everything kind of like every conversation gets shape from the characterization.
But they kind of
Whereas
try.
this-
Like, remember that part where like Aaron goes to pick up Abe and he's like, "Are those kids still there?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then he goes into his living room and there's like this roommate that's leeching off him or something.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Oh yeah.
They tried to do some kind of
I don't know.
characterization with that.
My favorite moment of characterization in the whole thing is when is Aaron the cautious one?
Abe's the blonde guy.
Oh yeah, so Aaron, and they're like at the machine shop, and he's like, I got his hand in front of his face. He's like, should we be wearing goggles? I love that. I don't know why I thought that was so funny because that's something I would
Abe
do.
is the cautious one.
Well, exactly. This is the whole thing.
Yeah.
Abe is the
They
blonde.
both are.
Abe is blonde. Aaron is dark haired.
So Aaron, they're at the machine shop, and he's like got his hand in front of his face because he's like he's
that was
cautious. I
kinda
thought that
funny.
was a good little joke, but also characterization, and it helps make them
Well,
little
they're
more clear.
characterizing the machine as well, right? They're going, what are we building?
But
this
see
wacky thing.
that goes against the characterization because Aaron is supposed to not be the cautious one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like it like flips, and also Abe is the one who initially goes and like actually builds the time machines first, and then does the experiment himself, and then comes and reports to Aaron.
So how cautious could he be? And then yeah. I don't know if we're actually gonna do it. Do you guys have specific nitpicks and hitpicks, or is this whole
I have a
thing?
We don't need to do
yeah.
a whole section.
Because the next thing I want to say was one of those, but why not hit the button? Nitpicks.
It's kind of depressing to me the fact that there's so little to talk about with this movie, given how much I enjoyed it. Because I usually enjoy like heavy thematic elements and stuff,
yeah.
but this one, like I said, it's less of a movie and more of a puzzle. It's like a little game.
But I feel like the puzzle part is cool, but thematically there is very little below the hood in the sense that like they explore less than you would in like a 22-minute episode of a cartoon.
Yeah.
on time
I don't know.
travel.
It's interesting. In the first half of the movie, it's like they don't want to broach these subjects at all. They're like, I hung out in a hotel room so that I didn't meet up with myself because I don't know what's going to happen what happens then? Does the universe collapse into a singularity? I don't even want to think about it. And you're like, okay, it's fair for a movie to do that. But then they do that.
Yeah.
They do meet up
They
with
just,
themselves.
Like, completely screw things up.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah. I'm glad that I saw that quote from Shane Carruth saying that it was about these guys who didn't like think about moral stuff at all, because if I hadn't seen that, then I would not really know what to take from the movie. But that's probably the strongest theme, is that like, okay, all of these sci-fi, all of this like detailed physics stuff, like science is really interesting, but if you spend your entire life just thinking about like, physics and science and stuff, then you're not going to be prepared when it's actually time to put the metal to the pedal to the metal.
I think though, like
That's not
the
right.
exploration of that is so shallow.
Yes.
And they don't really go because
shallow.
because those characters are so ill-defined. How could we go deep into that subject of how this power or how the lack of asking questions, moral questions, affects you?
Yeah.
Because you're just like, oh yeah, two dudes, and they're doing kind of like the basic time travel stuff of, working for themselves and like kind of being careful and then getting reckless. And it's
Yeah.
like, that's literally would be the arc of a 13-minute episode of Adventure Time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we need like another hour in this movie. But
We do not.
I hit
Merciful hour 10.
I feel like
I'm merciful.
No, it would be super super cool if somebody could have taken this concept and like gotten way more budget for it and gotten script consultants and like turned it into something with more interesting characters and themes and a plot that makes a bit more sense and requires less deciphering. But like the core concept, this time travel concept of like looping back,
Super cool.
is super cool because. Yeah.
I hit the nitpicks button, so we actually got to do them.
Okay, fine.
I hit pick.
The one I was gonna say when I hit that button is we were talking about how the cautious character Abe is the one who actually just gets in the time machine first. Because it's a nitpick to me that they go from, oh, we have this little box that we can put this little weeble in. Well, let's make a bigger one so a human can go in it. It's like, that doesn't follow. Why not? They want to put in something that can move, something that could come out at point A instead of point B.
Put a cat.
Why not just a rodent or a robot?
Yeah.
Well, because a cat wouldn't know to exit at a certain time.
Well, how about just a little robot, like a toy that goes, after 6 minutes and 10 seconds, it walks over to the other part of the...
I mean, they built a fucking time machine. Can't they put a little like timer inside that hits a button?
Exactly.
Yeah, they brought a timer inside so they would know to stay in for a certain amount of time. But how do they... Because like you can't
Or a
open
kid.
the box.
A kid could have done it.
Whatever's inside the box has
All right,
to
that was a
open the box at the right time.
Yeah, you can just create little mechanisms that
Like a little-
are on a 6-hour timer.
Little remote control car.
Well, I think what they wanted...
They
'Cause,
wanted
like-
to have a time travel movie is what they wanted.
Right, so like they want to go back in time themselves. So it's like it would kind of defeat the purpose to put a cat in there unless they were like, okay, we want to
Well,
make
no,
sure
At
when
that
that
they
point in the
die.
movie, they don't want to do that themselves. At that point in the movie, they want to like just know what the hell this thing is.
No, but couldn't they have done it like where they start the machine and then there's nothing in it, they close it, and then they open it and there's a cat? Like, wouldn't they know that 6 hours in the future they had sent a cat back?
But I don't think they would be able to verify that the cat has experienced a discrete amount of time.
But they would know that they have the ability to send stuff back.
Well, they already they put
feel
the
like
watch in, and
I
the watch.
I think the nitpick is, wow, that's a really big jump with no testing.
yeah,
it certainly
basically
is.
that.
Yeah. I mean, like they just jump in there Abe just jumps in, not knowing whether cautious Abe, not knowing whether he will even survive the journey or whatever. But
a hit pick is how they amp up the machine. Like they really give it like this reverence in this movie.
Oh
like
my gosh.
They're about to use it and they oh wait, I gotta do all the checks. And there's that shot of the hand hovering over all the switches and they're just like, what are we doing in our garage?
Yeah.
It's like it's very gravitas.
I agree. I think I feel bad bullying the technical execution of this movie, but the cutaways in this movie have totally different lighting, and so I actually didn't process them as cutaways to like a hand on a thing. I thought it was a flashback, and I thought this movie was doing like a cool thing where it's like non-linear. They're showing us like moments from the past, but it was just like no, they just don't have control over their lighting, so they had to like use faster stock, and it looks super different.
Yeah.
What's your hit pick?
It's kind of dumb, but I like it. Is that the character's name is Abe Turger, and that's regret backwards.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Kind of dumb.
Related to what you were just saying, James, a big nitpick that I just realized, they have to flood the box with argon for it to work.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they're not wearing gas masks or anything when they're in the box. So it's like I guess they figured out that you didn't need the argon or something.
Oh, well, maybe it doesn't flood the interior where you're sitting. It's like flooding the pipes with argon or something.
What pipes?
I don't know.
Don't they wear oxygen masks?
What? So the initial test with the electromagnetic weight reduction thing, they have to seal the container, and then they flood the box with argon.
But they do have those oxygen tanks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They're wheeling them in to the storage locker all the time.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Okay.
I'm an
Hit
idiot.
pick.
Sorry, never mind.
It's a hit.
Another hit pick. At the end, when it goes to the gray credit screen, shout out for their boldness in using like iMovie credit designs. I loved it.
That wasn't boldness. That's all I had.
No,
I'm just kidding. I don't know.
they could have done the black screen with white text, but I appreciate it because it made me realize like, oh, anything but white text on a black screen is so jarring.
Yeah, it is.
And so
It's
I
like,
liked it.
what?
I liked it.
What's going
Here's
on?
a funny pick. You gotta love the man, like all the gay jokes in the middle. They're like, man, the person who owns this hotel must think it's so weird that these two guys are coming for 6 hours a day. Must think we're fags. They actually say the F word. And
Do they?
Yeah, you missed that?
I didn't have subtitles.
2004. Very 2004.
So funny.
Yeah, that was kind of jarring though.
Oh, nitpick. At the opening, when there's a shot of like a soldering iron, and they're like hitting a wire, it's not on.
Oh my
and
gosh.
It was annoying. So I'm like, just turn the soldering iron on.
This is so. This is not really a nitpick or a hit pick, but it's a question. What is going on in the scene where Abe is alone in the box and he walks over to the other side and Aaron isn't there, and then he walks back over and then looks at his watch and he comes back and now Aaron is there in the box with him.
I don't remember.
You don't remember that?
I don't remember this.
I feel like that's like a crucial detail for how the box works that I'm missing, because I guess they're implying that when you go in the box and then it closes, you're like alone and you can't interact with another person in the box? Or is it that like he entered the box later? I don't know. If you guys don't know, then we're not going to have that answer.
That's probably indicating that Aaron is kind of screwing around.
No, he wasn't surprised or anything. Like that was up to plan or whatever. If you're in the comments, if you know what was going on with the thing where Aaron suddenly appears in the box,
I have a question, and maybe the spreadsheets have the answer.
the spreadsheets, the block out
the
diagram.
flow charts.
Yeah.
If you only go back so far as when the machine was turned on, so like if you have the machine turned on for 6 years and you get in the box for 6 hours and get back in the box, you can only go back 6 hours.
Yep.
Why is that item that he puts in there for a couple hours getting 5 years of protein?
Because it can't consciously exit, so then it loops. So the only reason that they can, well, if they stayed in, they could stay in the box indefinitely and die in there, because time loops in the box. So the implication is that the Weeble that got all the fungus on it, they're like, that fungus takes years to grow. It's because it had years in the box before when they put an inanimate object in the box, they have no control over how long internally the time is going to pass for the inanimate object. They bring it out in some mechanism that they don't understand, has it stop at a certain point.
Okay.
But they put it in for like 3 seconds. They put the watch in for like 3 seconds and hours pass when they take it out. So
Okay. That answered my question.
Did it though? I don't get it.
That's what James.
just basically saying-
that is why I tried to explain it in the beginning of the synopsis, because you're like, oh, it's just a time machine. It's not just a time machine; it's a time loop machine.
But you need to be conscious to get out on one end.
Yes, so that's why they had to go in as conscious agents so that they could time it. Okay, we've been in the box for 6 hours. Now instead of being at time B, we are back at time A. So now we get out. If we didn't get out, we're gonna loop back to time B.
But like they could have just put a timer that opens the door. Like there's no mechanics behind that not working, because they're still looking at a mechanical thing. So the time on their mechanical thing still moves forward.
I guess they could theoretically build a timed mechanism that would open the door from the inside
yes.
At the right time. Yeah, but I feel like, I don't know. That's kind of hard to do with like the storage door. It's like you have to build something on the inside of the... I don't know.
And this one I saw online, I didn't think of this, but it's... So the route back to A end is impossible as if it curves parabolically, since the shortest distance between the 2 points is a straight line. A curved trip would require being in the box longer than it had been on.
Yes, so actually this is addressed by people who have like gone
Made their entire
painstakingly
identity.
through, and yeah. So he actually spends 6.5 hours in the box, I think.
Do they say that in the movie, or are they?
They don't say this in the movie. No,
retconning?
so much of this like deciphering the details and like how things actually quote unquote worked is done by people who are like,
it's done by Shane Carruth.
it's done by all these people who have like gone through, because this is the funny thing.
You think he's not posting on his alt account?
Maybe, I don't know. Who
else does he have
Who
to do?
knows? But like there are
nothing.
multiple of these sites, and all of them refer to the characters in different ways. Like some people called Aaron 2 Hooded Aaron, and other ones
Sure.
Aaron 3 is actually Aaron 6 or
Aaron 1
5.
is Aaron 0.
Yeah, so like
Sure.
it all depends on how you want to number them and how you want to like
Think about
do
it.
the math of how, like, okay, he went back further. We don't actually know how far back Aaron went earlier than Abe. Some people say he went back to 5 a.m. Oh, 6 a.m. It doesn't matter, right? So like they're doing math and they're doing these calculations based on conjecture.
I'm very happy for these people that have spent this time making these calculations and really investing so much energy into making it happen. But if you're watching this and you're mad at me for not liking the movie as much as you, spend that energy on something more productive.
This is just lore, you know. This is just like the lore personality versus the non-lore personality.
I got a huge hit pick here.
Okay, I just want
This line that he just had to put in the movie. He just had to. Oh man, I'm so hungry. I haven't eaten since later this afternoon.
that was mine.
yeah.
That was one of my hit picks. Yeah,
It's just
but
like,
that doesn't
I
even
don't
make
know.
sense.
I think that's dumb.
Actually, it does make sense, because this is the other thing. There's doubles, right? But when you have a double in the timeline, you are just a later version of the earlier.
Yeah, it's been like 12
double.
hours of you.
And this is another thing that was confusing, because the very first time Abe goes to turn the box on, he goes to a hotel to remove himself from the time from interacting with people, right? At that point in the timeline, there is only one Abe, right? There's because this is what I was confused about. I'm like, is it implying that when they turn the box on, and then there's a 15-minute timer for the box to actually turn on, they like set the activation, 15 minutes later the box turns on so that they can get out of there so they don't interact with their double. But at that point, at some points in the movie, it makes you think that the double is actually going to come out of the box the first time, because that would keep the timeline consistent. You know that you're going to go in the box later, so right after you turn the box on, second you comes out of the box, right? But that's not what happens. The first time he turns on the box, he goes to a hotel. There's only one Abe in the timeline.
Yep.
Then 6 hours later, he gets into the box and creates a new timeline where now there are two Abes. So every time they get in the box, it creates a new timeline.
Yeah. And it's like recursive like
Right.
that thing. From now on, there's like a looping thing where there's a new guy's going to walk out of there.
And so older Aaron in this case, it's true that he says, "Are you hungry? I haven't eaten since later this afternoon," because he is the same Abe.
Yeah, that was his conscious
same
experience.
Aaron that ate later in the afternoon, but now they reset the day and they're back here. So at first I was like, that's a funny joke, but it doesn't make sense.
No, it's the same reason why they say, these 35-hour days are getting...
Yeah, but it makes perfect sense.
It makes sense. It's just dumb.
It's not dumb.
It's not how you would. It's not how you would instinctually say it.
How would you say it?
The character has to think about it and think that he's clever.
They should have laughed, yeah.
Yeah, it should have been
like,
like. Yeah, it shouldn't have been like a nonchalant remark. It should have been like.
Yeah.
Since like later this afternoon.
The way he says it, it's kind of like they've experienced this that's in the montage part where they've been doing this for days or even longer.
I think that's like Wednesday or Thursday at that point. So
maybe they've talked like that.
How
before,
else would you say it?
Well, if it was the first time he said something like that, they should both laugh.
Yeah, or it should have been like since.
Well, I think it's implied it's not.
Yeah, I haven't eaten since like 8 hours. Oh, this afternoon. Like the way he says it is just wrong.
Yeah, there should have been like a little thing where he like, oh,
yeah,
that's kind of fun.
Yeah, because it is kind of fun. It is funny.
Sort of a mid pick. I don't know. It's implied that they had the same dream inside the box because they sleep while they're in there sometimes. Mm-hmm. And he was like, they talk about. He's like, I had a crazy dream. I was like sitting on a beach and the waves coming in or whatever.
The ghost from the time travel ghost is in there.
Yeah, time ghost was in there. Red Skull.
Yeah, like I feel like there's this. If this was like a bigger Hollywood thing, it could be like the start of a franchise because there's so many questions you could ask about.
Like how many other parties can we go to? And
yeah, and I don't even know if the movie directly implies this, but it's like, what if you turn the box on,
make an army of Abes.
What? Oh no. So okay. So what if you're traveling back in time? You get out of the box. There are two of you in the universe. What if you turn the box off at that point, or open the door or something? What happens?
We'll never know.
It's some people online seem to think that it was like you kill yourself or your past self, or because it's like
that's a good question.
You're now stopping the thing that caused you to just come out of the box.
It's a paradox, right?
Yeah.
Like the second Abe emerges, Abe 1 is at the hotel waiting, and at 3:00 he plans to go and get in the box that should be turned on.
Yeah.
But then he gets there and it's like, well, you just turned it off.
Right.
Like 10 minutes before he arrived, the Abe 2 turned it off. So now what? He's like, oh, I guess I can't get in. So then that's a paradox because Abe 2 wouldn't have existed.
Well, and this is the weird thing about that is because like maybe nothing would happen.
But they talk about that a bit in the movie, right? When they first use it, they're like, I just had to make sure I turn it on, or otherwise, I don't know what's going to happen. The universe explodes.
Oh, okay.
I'm my own grandpa or whatever.
So that's why he came back to watch himself go back in?
I think he did that just to see, like, is this actually happening?
Yeah. It's funny because at first they're like, okay, we can't interact with ourselves. We can't alter the timeline. And then later, this is also something that makes very, very little sense, character-wise and plot-wise. When Abe gets woken up by the kids hitting the car alarms at like 3 a.m, he goes and wakes up Aaron, and he's like, hey, for some reason this inspired him to say that they should do the whole punching Platt in the face thing with the time machine. And so they're saying that they're going to go back in time. They're gonna go to Platt's house, punch him in the face, then go back in the time machine and go. He had set it on he had turned it on Thursday evening.
Yeah, and then they'll go. And this time when I get woken up by the kids, I just don't wake you up, and we don't go back in time.
And he's like, it's never happened. But if they were actually to do that, then they would have permanent doubles because they would stop themselves from going back in the time machine, and now there's 2 of them in the universe.
Oh.
Which is funny because it's like, oh, maybe they didn't know that that's what would happen. But when Abe goes back uses the failsafe, he knows to immediately go to himself, Abe 0, and knock him out so that he's out of the way. So it's like he knows that doing this isn't going to just like fix the timeline. It's going to make it worse. So, anyways, it's a super interesting puzzle, and obviously,
that's the thing with this movie.
You can't do something this complex and have absolutely everything make sense. Maybe,
but it's cool that they really did think a lot of it through.
Yeah,
none of us really rated it very highly, but it's a very interesting movie. And it's fun to talk about. With each other, so that's why I wanted to cover this.
I'm glad we did.
I think everyone's gonna be glad that we did.
I'm so glad.
I actually would recommend watching it if our discussion interested you, because it's like what we talked about still won't make any sense.
Yes. Oh, this is a bad episode if you haven't seen the movie. Probably should
have said that at the beginning. Like, definitely don't try to listen to this.
You guys want to do some fan service?
Sure. Shout out to Riley.
I missed this. What happened?
There's some funny stuff.
You didn't see any of the reception?
Well, Riley, you tell people your experience.
Okay, so as you know, James, last week I called Paul Verhoeven irresponsible and incompetent for making a movie that was so heavily misunderstood at the time of release. And now, 20 years later, the people who are interested in it understand it mostly. But it took a while for people to be like, oh, it's a satire on fascism. You know, obviously some critics got it, but even a lot of critics at the time misunderstood it. So that was my take last week. People were upset, James.
You're misunderstood now.
Well, my favorite
maybe.
hit pick in relation to that, it's a comment in support of your point where someone commented, this movie has nothing to do with fascism. Yet another garbage take from PJM.
I saw that one as well.
Yeah, I guess
I was like, you're proving my point,
yeah,
bud.
the person replied like, Paul Verhoeven talks about it being a satire of fascism, though. And the OP replies, just because he says it is does not make it so. Any fascistic elements are just a veneer surface level at best. Just because people walk around in Nazi uniforms does not make it fascist.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
guy's one of the Proud Boys or something.
Yeah.
My 121 Dan 121 said Riley's just upset that he didn't get it the first time he watched it. And I said 12-year-old Riley was pissed.
I remember.
I was still stoked because there's titties.
Exactly.
Just fast forward right to the shower
I mean,
scene.
I don't want to go through all of this, but like there were a bunch of people in the comments who there was one guy in particular, I want to find it, that Syndicate, I think his name was.
I had a friend actually reach out to me personally, like DM'd me, who had listened to the episode and been like, this guy, like, comparing it to The Godfather and like, or saying that it was like someone, like a dude who memorizes the feminist talking points. Like, what a left turn. Like, this Riley guy, man.
We have a very unique discussion. I like it.
Wait, what do you mean? What? I don't get it.
He doesn't get you.
I was called woke by somebody because I'm like, I'm too woke to realize that Dizzy was cool or
yeah.
something.
I love when I get called woke. It's like armor you get to wear next time you're being.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
but I was like, this doesn't even really make sense because I'm trying to say that like, I didn't understand what the woke accusation was there.
Nobody ever does. It's a mystery.
Anyways, Syntheside.
That's a good username.
The initial comment is like Riley's moralistic rant about social responsibility of filmmakers to make sure the maximum amount of people understand his film was so bizarre.
Agreed.
I can tell it's something he feels strongly about, but I don't know if he's really tested out his beliefs here. He's just so wrong. And I replied, what's wrong about it? Anyways, that led to a really long discussion. They wrote like 3 very, very long comments.
In a row? Offside.
Yeah. And it was actually really interesting. I will say that like I really appreciate when people take the time to
Write a novel. Look at that. Look at that wall.
Yeah. I mean, they mentioned the encoding decoding model of media creation and consumption by Stuart Hall, which I hadn't known about before, but I read about it and I was like, oh, this is actually really interesting. They're basically saying that it's up to the audience to decode things. Like all the creator can do is create something and they're encoding it with their meaning and their frameworks. And then the audience receives it and then they decode it with their frameworks. And it's not the creator's responsibility to make sure that the audience is properly equipped to decode it or to change their art so that it can be decoded by people. And I was just saying that like, you know, that's fair enough. That's one model of looking at this. But I think at the end of the day, it really just comes down to the fact that this is a mass marketed, big budget movie. And if your goal, the main thing is that if the filmmaker's goal is to get a certain message across or to make people think about things in a certain way, to start a conversation there, if that's their goal and people come away from it not getting the goal at all en masse, just thinking it's a dumb action movie, critics misunderstand it, the masses misunderstand it, what have you accomplished other than it's a failure,
I don't
right?
really want to go to that side of the discussion, but I almost feel like you don't see movies worthy of academic study in the same way you would like literature. Where like literature, I think you would be able to intellectualize the idea of like.
Are you talking about me?
Yeah,
or?
you personally. Like you don't need to get everything the first time. Like you can break it down by chapter and do these things. But I feel like you don't really think that movies deserve that level of study.
No, they definitely do. I think I'm just differentiating between artsy movies primarily intended for that niche audience who is properly equipped to do that, and movies primarily intended for the masses who are not. And it's just like
but
that's.
I think like
I'm
why
not trying
do
to say
you
they're
need
dumb.
to categorize them? I think like that's a you baggage that you're bringing in. Like movies aren't necessarily designed to be artsy or mass appeal. Like they're designed. The best movies, in my opinion, are just designed to tell a story and communicate an idea.
Yes.
And so why does it have to be one or the other? Why can't it be a little bit of both?
Well, like you just said, they're designed to communicate an idea. And if it doesn't communicate the idea, that's a strike against it.
We've argued about that the fact that people miss the message is kind of helping to communicate the deeper message.
Yeah,
Right,
that's true. That's
but
true.
it seemed like this movie, the whole point was to communicate an idea. The whole point was to satirize fascism and to allow Americans or whoever, people in the West, to recognize fascistic elements in their own society, right?
Yeah, the whole point was for you to be like, to watch it and not get it and be like, wow, I'm a fascist. I'm susceptible to fascism.
But you can't do that if you don't get it.
Exactly.
You can't recognize that
tough.
you've been bamboozled if you don't know that you've been bamboozled.
Well,
But are we judging the moral accomplishment of a movie based on the lowest common denominator, or on like?
I'm judging it based
Good
on
question.
most people who are going to watch these movies who are not people who have gone to film school and have the tools. And I'm not judging people, right, for not having these tools. I think that most, like, there's lots of people in the working class, in the non-intelligentsia, that are very, very intelligent
It's called the unintelligentsia, right?
in lots of different ways and factors. I just think that expecting everyone to have the tools that you need to properly interpret something like this is like, maybe I should have.
Can you please end the sentence? Because
Okay.
I really want to move on.
It's wrong.
I keep having no place to do it. 'cause
Another
you-
person left a comment and I replied to them. I forget what it is, but he said, you shouldn't have said it's subtle. You shouldn't have said it's too subtle for people. You should have said it's obtuse, because at the end of the day, as you said, David, the movie is kind of like weak at making any particular point. It like lampoons the idea of fascism, but it's lacking a cogent critique. So it's like, obtuse is a good word.
Sure.
And
He's
I said
right.
this
He's
to
right
this
about
guy.
that.
I was like,
That's
good
a
point.
smart
All right, if you guys want more of that, there's an hour of it on another show that we did.
I have a few fan services about our Galaxy Quest episode. They're brief. So I criticized the movie when Tim Allen goes to the bathroom and the people are like making fun of it in the bathroom. I was like, that's stupid. That wouldn't happen. Apparently, it's based on a real story that William Shatner had, where he went to the bathroom and he heard people being like, "This is so fucking stupid."
Yeah, I saw that too. I was like, that's a little on the nose, but I guess.
Yeah, especially since his last name is Shatner.
Jeez Louise.
That's very on the nose.
And then apparently, learning addicts was a thing. Jamie told us.
No,
that.
it's not called learning addicts.
Oh.
It's learning annex. That's why I couldn't Google it.
I see.
And everybody knows what it is.
Wait, you guys.
As soon as I walked off set, Jamie was like, "You never heard of that?" It was everywhere on TV.
I knew it was annex. I thought you guys were saying you hadn't heard of. You thought they were saying addicts.
Yes, that's why
so
I couldn't
funny.
research it.
Wow.
Anyways, how about some now playing?
Time for the now weekly talk about Rings of Power.
I didn't see the newest episode.
Oh, James.
We'll have to wait.
Sorry, but
What you doing?
I didn't see. I'm building a sauna.
Heck yeah.
I was
That's hot.
building, but I
Maybe we
didn't
should-
though I didn't get a chance to watch anything. I had friends all around me talking about this new Jeffrey Dahmer show. I want to see it. It sounds creepy
I'm
and
so
disturbing.
over. We've had this discussion. I'm so over true crime content, and it's just like, I think it's morally reprehensible to create this content, especially when the victims' families are like, "We don't want this."
Yeah.
and I think that
Is that
should
the case in this?
Yeah, they're like, we don't want this to exist. We don't want people to talk about it. We don't want to have to relive this. We don't want it, certainly not like blasted around social media where they have to kind of relive and like pull up those memories. I think it's like really vile. I think it's vile that it exists, and I don't think it's like moral to consume it.
Oh, that's a really interesting take, and I think
Wow,
that's
what a moralistic
that's-
rant, David.
It's
Shut
my
up.
turn.
it's valid, but that's like affecting tens of people maybe for the enjoyment of hundreds of thousands. So there's that kind of
I would
utilitarian
say that like
perspective.
there's a place for true crime, but I think the world was better when it was a lot more niche.
I can agree with that.
I think that the fact that like Netflix has identified that people like true crime, and so they're just like churning out true crime documentaries about this killer and that rapist and blah blah blah. It's just kind of like, I don't feel like it's super healthy for society to be obsessing over these like delinquent,
it's so
horrible,
funny.
messed up
We used
people.
to be so concerned with young people or everyone struggling to differentiate fantasy from real life. And now I think the real danger is we can't differentiate real life from fantasy. Like people, I think they idolize these serial killers and these serial rapists because they don't connect that it's real
Oh,
and
but
that it's
you-
like real life.
But you do, and that's what makes it so creepy.
But then why idolize the Jeffrey Dahmers and the Ted Bundys? Like, there's so many
Well,
people that.
But I think those people are weird.
Well, yeah.
Like most people don't idolize them at all. They're like, ew, how could a monster like that exist?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so scary
It's
that a
a-
machine could be so broken.
In a lot of the cases, it's not idolization so much as it's just like dark fascination, where it's
Yeah.
like a car wreck, you can't look away.
See, but I think that it's deeper than that. I think you're right. That's like would be the sort of healthy response to something like that. But I do think there's lots of people that are like that. I then start to identify as a sociopath because they're like they see the intelligence behind it and they want to like grab onto the positive elements of it. You know, like they got away with it so long. you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, I think that is like a small minority of people who get to that point, but fair enough. I think that even having that happening in society and having content like just being churned out that we like, some people just watch true crime and that's like their whole shtick, you know. I'm like,
That's my personality.
well, we should. I just feel like it's. I don't think it's mentally healthy for society or for the individual to spend so long obsessing about this. Like, I think it can really desensitize you to the fact that this is real people, real pain.
Yeah.
This stuff actually exists in the world, and it's horrible. And so
Well-
it's like when you hear about someone getting beheaded or someone like getting horribly, horribly raped and mangled, it's like, well, that's just like that documentary I saw.
Yeah, and I think there is good true crime
Instead of being shocked.
Yeah, and it's just not the stuff that like helps keep the legend of serial killers alive.
Right.
It's the stuff that explores like, hey, this kid was accused of this murder and they didn't do it. And like through 16 episodes of podcasts, like we're exploring all the different people who it could be. And sometimes they actually accomplish something that's positive in the world. Or, you know, like there's
So like the thing, like serial making a murder.
yeah, like
you think those are more admirable, or
I think so, and I think like they're probably less interesting because it's not as like violent.
They're
You'll get
pretty
to explore.
interesting.
I love them. That's like the true crime I will choose to digest if I do. I don't love true crime in general, but
The guy from Serial just got released. Hey,
hey, cool.
I forget his name.
just add milk.
It's something A. But that yes, season 1 of Serial, that was awesome.
Adnan Syed.
Yeah,
Yeah, he just got released. He got exonerated.
yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yay!
Spoilers.
I like
Jeez.
I like Serial.
What? That's not on the podcast. The podcast is about.
Yeah, and I've
That
seen-
podcast is like 10 years old.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen other ones too where it's like someone goes to a small town because there was like a murder that they're investigating, but then they kind of the story sidelines. It's about this guy who like will later kill himself or something, but it's like you get to know the person and how lonely he was and all this stuff, but it just tells this fascinating story, which is a real story, but it's not just like there's something tonal about these serial killer ones.
They're vulgar.
They're vulgar, and they really, to me, it feels like they're admiring something about these killings.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
I want to watch it.
Let's touch briefly on Rings of Power, but no spoilers.
No spoilers.
Just how we're feeling about it at the moment.
Episode 5.
It was good. I'm excited to keep going on. I feel like it was a slightly less good episode. There's stuff that happens that I'm glad they don't drag out some of the drama that they could have. Like a shittier show would have like dragged out some of the interspecies drama in a way that was frustrating. But I also think like people just kind of need to communicate a little bit better, and that's kind of frustrating sometimes.
The way I feel about the show is currently, it's like I was in a room and someone walked in, and at first I was like, "Whoa, this guy has a weird vibe. I don't know how to feel about this. It's maybe a bit offensive. Maybe it's bothering me a little bit." And then the longer that I sit in the room with them, it's like, "Oh,
That's just who
okay.
he is."
Yeah, you're maybe just kind of like a weird guy or whatever, or maybe you're even we can have some interesting conversations or something."
If my leg
I don't
hair
really,
was that long, I'd braid it too.
yeah, I don't really want to be friends with you, but I'm not weirded out by you being in the room anymore.
Fair enough.
That's how I feel about the show.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I-
keep watching
I
it
just
to see where it goes.
Have a fully separated from Lord of the Rings in my head. It's just its
Yeah,
own
me
little
too.
fantasy
Me too.
thing. And I
At
think
this
that's
point,
the way to enjoy
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, not me.
I watched.
Well, you haven't watched episode 5.
I watched The Woman King this weekend.
Oh, wow.
I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah?
I didn't know too much going in. I thought it was a more political movie. It's not. It's like a movie about like a woman tribe of warriors, or like the women warriors of an African tribe overcoming the other tribe that's selling people off to slavers.
Right.
And it's a pretty clear good and bad, it's a very enjoyable, very entertaining movie, you know, where it's like a young person joins the tribe. Viola Davis is kind of the head of the women warriors, and it just hits all the right beats at the right moments. it very much has that Braveheart historical accuracy feeling where you're like, yeah, it kind of seems like something like this sort of happened.
Right.
But it's engaging emotionally and like you cheer at the right moments. And like at the end, there's like a dance, but like not like a dance number, but like they're all dancing because they're celebrating. You're like, yeah, fuck yeah, we did it.
Oh, so it has a happy ending?
Or does it? Maybe the bad guys, the slavers.
They're dancing.
But it has, when you look into it, it's like, oh, they just like sanitize the history a little bit. Like, this tribe was like forced to stop selling slaves. And then as soon as like the British went away, they went back to selling slaves. Like they weren't the good guys who were trying to abolish slavery.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's fine. It's a movie about
Is it
these
an
characters.
action movie?
Sort
or a
of.
drama?
That's probably one of my gripes is that it starts sort of as an action movie. There's like a big action fight scene where they're fighting the evil people. And then it goes about an hour without another action scene. And then there's 2 at the end. And the action scenes are okay, but they're all zoomed in a little tight and like a little shaky. So you don't get to see the cool action. But it's good.
It looks like it's being sold that way. Like from the trailer, when I watched the trailer, was my impression. That looks like someone who makes action movies was like, how can me, a dude, produce an action movie that will get created in 2022? That's completely wrong. It's the writer, director, everything is all women. But
I think that's just the way they're selling it. It felt like a woman-led movie, and I think like the writing is strong, the character
cast
beats
looks
are strong,
great,
and it's like I said, I got engaged emotionally, and I did not expect to like it. I was kind of forced to go watch it, and I was really happy that I did.
And you said already that it is based on an historically like the all-female warrior unit of the West African kingdom of Dahomey.
Yes.
During the 17th and 19th centuries, and that was a thing. I actually, when the trailer came out, I was like, "Oh, what's this about?" And I looked it up on Wikipedia and whatnot. And it was actually a thing. Obviously they're playing up a lot of aspects of it.
And that's
for an action movie.
And it's one of those things, like looking at the reviews, it has like 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. And when I first looked, it was at 30% audience approval. And you look at it and it's always like, so historical bullshit. It's all like, it's so inaccurate. I'm like, so is every like based on a true story event. Like, why are you zeroing in on this? And I feel like there's and it's always going to be a race thing and then a woman thing,
for
like
sure.
a misogyny thing. And it sucks that that's always a
Watch
factor.
Watch out, woke alarmists.
6.2 on IMDb.
Yeah, so if you look at it, it's got like 35-ish% are 1-star reviews. And this is very interesting to me. The movie has an average 8.3 from women and 5.7 from men. So that tells you
on
something.
IMDb?
On IMDb.
Haters. Wow, I didn't realize you could click on the rating and have it all broken up by demographics.
Yeah, it's really cool, hey?
I sent did I tweet this? I forget. I screenshotted Rings of Power or somebody, I saw it on Reddit and then I sent it to you.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was like, even the day before Rings of Power came out, no one had actually seen it, and they were already brigading the reviews on IMDb, so that all of the reviews were clustered on the 1s and 10s.
Yeah.
So it's like...
It's always how it is.
Yeah.
I also started the Cyberpunk anime.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty fucking awesome.
That's the truth, yeah.
I'm enjoying it way more than Arcane.
Really?
Yeah. I liked Arcane. We talked about it. I liked Arcane, but this is like hooking me where I deeply care about a bunch of characters. The stuff that's happening is really interesting. I like the action a ton.
Is it 30-minute episodes?
Yeah. And
Dang.
it's...
I haven't checked it out yet.
Styling is...
Where do you watch it?
Netflix.
Cool.
It's 10 episodes.
What's it called? Cyberdunk.
Edge Runners, I think.
Basketball
Cyberpunk
Diaries.
Edge Runners.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend if you like Western anime, even like you like
Cyberpunk Edge
It's
Lords.
more of a Western anime?
Well, it's made by like the Western studios, kind of the people that have been doing all the Netflix stuff, as far as I understand. But it's super good. It's super fun.
Responsible for 1 million people coming back to Cyberpunk.
1 million people every night.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's back.
It's crazy.
It's here, I think. It's like when it first arrived, it was like the hype was just like it's broken.
So I did my strategy. I executed on not watching Andor right away.
Good.
Waiting to see what people said about it because Star Wars shows have shit the bed recently.
Is it live action?
Yep.
Yes. And I heard that it was good. So I watched it. It's the best one they've done.
I haven't even heard about
It might
this.
it might actually be a good show that just happens to be a Star Wars
It's
show.
Endor?
Andor.
That's the
Andor.
character from Rogue One.
They could have
Oh, I
thought.
thought this was like a programming thing.
They could have thought for a little bit more about how to give him a name that isn't going to
like
be
that joke.
confused with Endor. What'd you say?
Like a.
I'll listen
like-
to it. I'll listen to it when I upload.
Operators, yeah. Rogue
Yeah,
One people, huh?
It's a Tony Gilroy.
Is it the actors from the Rogue One movie, like those characters?
Well, so it's a prequel to Rogue One because
That's a prequel to a prequel.
yeah,
Playing a guy, playing another dude.
it's a prequel to Rogue One. Tony Gilroy, I think, is. I mean, he did like 3 of the episodes or something, but it's
Rogue
like his
Zero.
baby. He's the showrunner. And yeah, it's really good. I mean, like the writing is good, the acting is good, the cinematography is interesting. The
What is it about? Like, what happens by the end?
it's about the early Empire and the rebels. And so like Andor starts out as just somebody kind of trying to survive and like live his life, and then he gets recruited.
It's like who created the rebels kind of thing. How do the rebels start?
How many Rebel
Yeah.
origin stories have we gotten? I feel like we had like a whole series called Rebels.
Well, I don't know if there's a rebel origin story, but this one is going to be interesting because Mon Mothma is in it. There's they're bringing back that guy who was in Rogue One. I got
Diego Luna?
Lawrence Whitaker.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
the
yeah.
villain?
No, he helped out.
I forget his name. I knew his name. Forrest Whitaker, but I also forget the character's name. Anyways, it's really good, and I'm so pleasantly surprised.
Forrest Fishburne.
Forrest?
All right, we got to wrap this up, guys.
Oh, She-Hulk goes on.
I
Say about that?
haven't watched
It
it.
goes
I watched
on.
it. I watched it. It's
Okay.
fine.
All right.
Well, thanks for listening. Riley's just cut neutered. Just
No.
cut him off.
I realize we go. I need to write tech link.
Yeah. Wow. You can tweet at us, y'all, at TJMPod. You can comment against Riley on YouTube. You can email us, hello@they'rejustmovies.com.
I doubt that I'm going to get many people attacking me over my positions on Primer.
Or you
No,
can
it's
just
gonna be
leave
a
us
David Hay
alone.
week. It'll be
yeah,
David
yeah.
Hay
It's your week, David.
Hell yeah.
Let's go.
I'll carry the burden.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
you
Next
later.
week,
Huh?
we don't know. Look
Yeah,
in
we
the
don't
look
know.
in the description.
Check it out.
Bye.
No David, though.
Love you.
Bye.